On today's Locked On Thunder podcast, we're going to tell you the most underrated storyline for the Oklahoma City Thunder.
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, media member and beat writer for Thunder on SI, Rylan Stiles. Follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Follow the show on Twitter at LOThunderPod. Email the show, LOThunderPod@gmail.com. On today's show, we're joined by Michael Martin of Let's Talk Thunder on YouTube to discuss the wide variety of topics so far throughout the Thunder season. What's the most underrated storyline for OKC? Is the three-point shooting a concern? How sustainable is Ajay Mitchell's hot start? And what will Jada bring to the table? We appreciate all you everydayers who make this show work by listening every single day. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast from. We have 5 days a week for you, Monday through Friday, plus after every single game, plus our Monday and Thursday, 2 p.m. Central Time live streams with Derek Parker, and this show right here with Michael Martin on this Thursday as the Thunder get set to play the Washington Wizards. Michael, it feels like we're kind of back in the swing of things in this NBA world.
Yeah, I think Mark put it best the other night where we are right in the middle of a marathon. We didn't warm up. We're right on the treadmill going like 30 miles per hour. Everybody's trying to keep up. A couple people stumbled, but it's nice to be back.
It is very nice to be back. It was a little lonesome yesterday. Not the huge crowd that Tuesday brought, but still great to be back in the Paycom Center. We'll be back again tonight against Washington. The Thunder are shooting the ball very poorly. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. In fact, they are dead last in the NBA from beyond the arc. Is that a concern for you?
So I put it on the scale, I'm going to call it the panic button scale of 1, you have your hand in your pocket. 2, hand out of pocket. 3, hand reaching over for the button. 4, your hand's over the button. 5, you're hitting it. I would say that my hand is sort of out of the pocket, reaching towards the button. I mean, but it's only really 4 guys, Rylan, that are shooting really, really badly. Shai's down from 37.5% down to 23% this year. Dort 41 to 17. Cason 36 to 29, and J. Will 40 to 17. On average, across those 4 guys, their three-point percentages this year have dropped by 17%. So I'm not panicking just yet. I think there's going to be some progression to the mean for those guys. Obviously, adding Dub and Isaiah Joe is going to really help. But this is something I'm definitely monitoring, and it's something I'm concerned with, but it's not like a major, major concern, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I'm not concerned yet. The biggest concern for me is actually bigger picture than it is in the micro of all of this. The bigger concern would be, we acknowledge this team is a streaky three-point shooting team. Do you really want to bank yet again on the shooting variance, on the streakiness of this roster, to not have it all collapse in the postseason? For example, last October, which, by the way, last October, the Thunder were also 5-0, but they were actually dominating. They were not playing close games. And yet still, the Thunder were 27th in the NBA in three-point percentage. They are dead last now. That is worse, but still, it shows you how bad the Thunder were a year ago. And yet still, by the end of the season, they end up being the 6th best three-point shooting team. Just continuing to give credit to the fact that they are a streaky bunch. We haven't seen Isaiah Joe play yet. We haven't seen J-Dub play yet. Even Caruso, Wallace, and Holmgren have all missed at least 1 game apiece. Dort is on an unbelievable cold streak, as you just illustrated, which we know who Dort is. Like, yes, he shot 40%, but it's built upon and baked into these wild stretches in one direction or the other. I feel like we have this conversation about Shai at the start of every season where, oh, he's taking too many threes, he's missing too many threes, he's trying things out, and then inevitably, like, it goes back to normal as it will. Now, again, I'm not concerned about how the Thunder are going to shoot throughout the course of the 25-26 NBA regular season. I think it's fair to be concerned of if you want to bank on this turning around when it matters the most. Last season, for example, it turned around in the regular season. They were a top 10 team shooting the basketball in the regular season. But then in the playoffs, they went back and reverted back to a cold streak. They finished 13th out of 16 teams in three-point percentage and still were able to pull out a championship, however sustainable you think that is. So the Thunder kind of bookend their season on 2 cold streaks as opposed to at least having one of them start as a hot streak. Now, again, being so streaky, they could also just have a hot streak in the postseason, and then this all is kind of null and void. But it's just the non-guarantee of it all that is a bit concerning. The reason why I'm even more cooled off on the concern meter than most people around town are, is that to me, the quality of the 3-point shot matters a lot. And they are finding unique ways to get this available to them. They're finding unique passes and scenarios with the dribble handoff stuff, with their quick passes and quick decision making. I mean, how many touch passes has Cason Wallace made, Ajay Mitchell made, which sets up guys like Jay Will wide open, beautiful shot. They're going to hit it more often than not, and they just don't hit them. Like right now, SGA is averaging like 13 potential assists a night. They're setting guys up in a big way. It's just not falling for them. Like SGA is at 13.6 potential assists. Cason's at 7.8. Caruso's even at 6.5. AJ Mitchell's at 6.2, and Hartenstein's at 5.2. Like they're generating some good shots that are not falling that I think will fall. The more so concern for me is just will they fall when it actually matters.
Yeah, that's the thing with this team is there's not much they can prove in the regular season wins-wise, 3-point percentage-wise. We all want to see it in the playoffs. But I'm right there with you in terms of it's kind of like a double-edged sword of like it's almost more frustrating from fans to watch and see that they're generating all these good threes and not making them, if that makes sense. Like, it would be different if it's like they're not making them, but they're also not generating. So maybe if they generated them, they'd be falling, but they're generating them, they're just not falling right now. But, you know, basketball is a game of runs. Lou Dort, like you mentioned, super streaky guy. Shai, I have no doubts about, like, he's just on a cold stretch right now. Cason, he's been down, but Caruso's been around the same. Chet's actually up from last year, 3-point percentage-wise. Wiggs is about the same. So it's really 3 or 4 guys. And, you know, it's going to go up and down throughout the season, but I wouldn't say it's a massive, massive concern until you start getting to the playoffs where you can't just bank on Shai, dub, hero ball late in games and your defense to win it out for you all the time. You're going to have to make some threes, but we got a long way to go till then.
Yeah, and if you had to break that down to like an individual basis, I think that the only guy I'm even monitoring long term would be Cason Wallace, as a guy who, as a rookie, attempted 2.9 attempts a night and shot 42% from 3-point land. And then last year, he averaged 3.1 attempts from 3, but then it dipped down to 35% on the whole season, playing 68 games as opposed to 82 games. And then this year, he's off to a 28% clip from 3, but shooting a career high 5.3 attempts a night. So it's just like we don't have as big of a body of work of Cason Wallace or as we do in like Lou, as we do it with Shai to bank on. And so you're still trying to figure out, well, which version of Cason was real. I have no concerns that he'll get back to at least 35%, but now my question or concern would be, can he get back to 40% or 42%? And where in the middle does it fall? Does it fall at 37%? Is it actually below 35? Where is Cason going to level off at is the one that I don't have a for sure answer to. Because even like Caruso, even when the Thunder started to shoot the ball better and become a top 10 team shooting, people were still concerned about Alex Caruso individually as a shooter. And then he becomes your most trustworthy and best 3-point shooter in the postseason. So like Caruso is just an absolute gamer. I have zero concerns about him. Jay Will, I don't have concerns about him primarily because of his track record, but also because I don't think it really ends up mattering, honestly, whether he does return to form or not to the degree that it does for other players on this team. So Cason's like the one I'm circling of just, well, where is he actually at as a baseline of a player? Because we've seen a couple of different extremes.
Yeah, I'll put a little bit more stock into Jay Will. I agree with all your sentiments about Cason, but with Jay Will, I feel like, you know, we've been on this for a little bit. I've asked Mark and some other coaches about it, but the rise of the double big lineups, and we've seen way more Jay Will where he's even playing with Hartenstein, but we know what he looks like with Chet. We know how important he was in the Denver series, and that seems like a team you're going to have to go through. So his 3-point shooting is important. I'm a little bit more skeptical than I think you are. But, you know, it's streaky. It's one of those things where he can hit a hot stretch and it turns around for all these guys. But I'd say Cason's number 1, and then I'd have Jay Will behind him.
Yeah, Jay Will, I think that there's going to be certain matches where we don't play him at all until proven otherwise. So, like, that lessens the importance. And then I just don't have any fear of Jay Will getting stage fright. Of like, he's not one of these guys that's going to have an open shot kick to him and you're just going to hesitate, let the defense reset, and then ruin your possession. He's going to still launch that thing. And defenders have still, even whenever he was shooting at 40% clip, they still were not defending him at all. They weren't flying out to him at all. So that still generated an open look. And if they ever do start to react to him, he has the playmaking chops to make something happen for himself. And I think that he can develop even within cold stretches like this offensively, shooting the ball. He can develop into such a playmaker that is similarly in a way to iHeart, who gets ignored on the 3-point line, doesn't make threes, and yet still is an impactful player for this team because of his playmaking ability in the high post. It can be similarly worked around with Jay Will. You saw last night Jay Will threw a lob to Brandon Carlson. That was one of the craziest plays that I've ever seen from Jay Will. And then last night, one of the Jay Will's buckets was a situation, or it might have been Monday, actually. The days run together. But one of the buckets from Jay Will was he got the shovel pass from Lou at elbow to elbow, an awkward spot for Jay Will to ever receive the basketball. I don't think in his life he's ever caught a ball there. And then he just goes right downhill for the slam. I thought that was really nice from Jay Will. So it is concerning. I think that those are the top two guys that you're wondering about because you just don't have enough data points to reference. You have enough body of work to reference with those two guys. But overall, the all-encompassing team, I'm not too concerned about because some of these minutes from guys who are missing will be changed by J-Dub coming back, by Isaiah Joe coming back, who's now listed as questionable for tonight's game against Washington. So we'll see if he ends up making his season debut. Coming up, how sustainable is Ajay Mitchell's hot streak? What does J-Dub change about this team once he comes back? And what's the underrated storyline for the Thunder this year? But first, I want to say right now, my good friends over at Peloton, folks, go check out Peloton today because Peloton's incredible. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with this brand new Peloton Cross Training Trend Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. It's the most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move. Whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors, your training is reimagined by Peloton. It's built for breakthroughs with tools to help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performances. I love that the Peloton IQ system offers real-time strength coaching. It helps you keep track of your reps. It also suggests for you the right weights that you need to be using, and it corrects your form, making it very safe and smarter than ever before. The swivel screen is a game changer. You can go from running to the Trend Plus strength training without missing a beat. And they also have personalized classes that are recommended to you to keep you engaged, keep you motivated, keep you vibing and your energy levels high with Peloton. So let yourself run, lift, flex, push forward. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Trend Plus today at onepeloton.com. That's onepeloton.com. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day, talking with Michael Martin from Let's Talk Thunder on YouTube. And Ajay Mitchell has been the Let's Talk conversation du jour around Oklahoma City. He's averaging 18.2 points per game so far this season to go along with nearly 4 rebounds a night and 3 assists. And he's shooting the ball pretty efficiently, 47% from the floor, 34% from beyond the arc. And then he's perfect at the free throw line, getting there 2.6 times a night, as well as getting 0.2 blocks. But if you combine that into the new fancy stocks stat, you combine that with 1.2 steals a night, and you have a nice defensive impact player. What's been the most encouraging part of Ajay Mitchell's game to you in the first week of the season? Let's start there.
I mean, the base is just very incredibly repeatable, but his ability to create space on a lot of these drives, a lot of these closeouts, he's attacking closeouts well. He gets in the paint pretty easily, and then also just his ability to finish over size and contact. Like, we've gone over some of the comps of guys like, the sky-high ones of Thunder, James Harden, Jalen Brunson, Cade Cunningham, and I'm not going to say he's going to be any of those guys, but there are like flashes and pieces of those guys' games that you can see within him. But he just is a really smart, solid basketball player, like Shai has talked about before. He knows his role. He knows how to play alongside skilled players. So I'd say the thing that has stood out to me the most is just the shots he's hitting. It doesn't look like it's just a random hot streak. He looks very, very comfortable. Everything looks like it's should go in, and it's just him sort of just a ho-hum game, even if the numbers are really, really good. It doesn't seem like it's just a hot streak from 3 like we're expecting from a guy from like Lou at some point, where he's just going to make 6 out of 8 threes for 3 games straight in January or whatever it is. For AJ, it seems like it's a lot more sustainable just in terms of the shots he's getting. It'll go up and down shooting-wise here and there, but I think overall, this is very sustainable.
Yeah, and part of what makes it so sustainable for me is his ability to make quick decisions, efficient decisions, and his poise. Like last night, it was a beautiful possession where Chris Fisher, who I love, is like saying, hey, somebody's got to shoot the ball. Like the time is dwindling down. Ajay Mitchell in a 5-point game with 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, entering clutch time. He gets the ball swung to him after Shai's been denied an entry pass twice on this one possession. He gets the ball swung to him with 2.4 ticks to go on the shot clock. He's at least a step, might be 2 steps behind the 3-point line. And what does he do? He drives into the paint with 2.4 seconds left. He still gets that scoop shot up in time, beats the buzzer, and that really changed the dynamic of the rest of that run for OKC to get them over the hump. His poise and maturity on the court is something that you just cannot teach. You either innately have it or you don't, and he does. And then another sustainability portion as we transition this conversation into this being beyond a credit to him for the hot streak whenever the team desperately needs it, and the team is laboring right now with a hefty injury report, needing some offense. It's so sustainable because he looks so good next to Shai. And that's going to be his life from now on once J-Dub does return, whenever that may be. Like, his minutes will always be covered next to a guy with immense scoring gravity. And if you ever do try to have an adjustment in your scouting report to try to take AJ away or limit AJ, that's one less body that you can put on one of the two best scorers that you see in the NBA, two All-NBA guys, in Shai and J-Dub. So his ability to play on the ball, off the ball, set those two guys up, and benefit from their gravity, it all works together, and it all combines for an exceptional output from Ajay Mitchell.
Yeah, another thing that stood out to me was just that stretch that we talk about this a lot with the Thunder, going back to Dub a few years ago before he was a more proven player of, Shai's rotation. He's going to miss the first 6 or so minutes of the fourth quarter. And last night in a really, really close game where the Thunder just couldn't really get anything going, I'm sitting there and I'm tweeting about, AJ's got to hold down the fort here. He's got to be able to hold it down for them until Shai gets back in, because you have one of the best players in the world. You just got to keep it within striking distance. And he did exactly that, keeping it within around a one-possession game. And then something you mentioned earlier kind of stood out to me about AJ and the different things you can take away from him or attempt to. And that is with AJ compared to a guy like Isaiah Joe. There's not a single lineup. He doesn't have specific lineups that you have to throw him into. Any sort of role, any sort of version of that lineup, he's going to be fine. Where with Isaiah Joe, you need certain things around him. Cason Wallace, certain things around him for them to be really, really efficient and productive in those lineups. AJ, you can kind of put him in just literally anything, any situation, and he's going to be a solid winning basketball player for you.
Yeah, that's a big deal for AJ Mitchell and for this team in general. And I just think that AJ, you mentioned it's a 3-point game to start the fourth quarter, and Shai's on the bench until the 7-minute mark, as per usual, which was interesting because they didn't play him the whole first quarter last night. They changed that part of Shai's rotation, and you just had to tread water, man. You had to survive and be able to make Shai the inevitability that he is. It goes back to Tuesday's game against Houston. That game was really Houston controlling most of it, and without the 16-point first half from AJ Mitchell, keeping that game within striking distance, you never get to see the end result of Shai getting the game going again for himself and getting the game into double overtime and winning the game against Houston. Same thing with Indiana. Same thing with the Hawks game, even where he played great and let them blow out a game, the Dallas game, and now this game. And to have Shai return to a 4-point deficit at the 7-minute mark, whenever you didn't have Chet, you didn't have J-Dub, and of course Shai's on the bench. This is an offense that really struggled when Shai was off the floor last year at times, and to be able to have the success with AJ and with Wiggins is very encouraging. And so I think that you just have to keep into perspective that this 5-game streak is a lot of fun. He's still an exceptionally young player. He'll have some bumps in the road as well, but this is also not the end goal for AJ Mitchell in the sense of him being forced to have career high nights in points and lead an offense. He's a very complimentary player, and that can shine through and make him honestly look even better or more efficient once you get all your pieces back.
Yeah, there's sort of just stress testing him, of just pushing him a little bit more each game of are you going to break now? Is this the furthest you can go? Is this sort of before you break out of this archetype? Can you go a little bit further? Can you go a little bit further? And they're going to continue to test those limitations on him until they figure out what exactly he's capable of, and then sort of mold more of the rotations and those lineups around him to maximize him. But for now, he's just in a really good sort of flow state exploratory phase of what exactly can I do? Can I get away with here? And he's a guy who's still learning. He's talked a lot about that. He went to college for 3 years. He had to sit for a lot of last year. Mark reminded us in pregame before the Kings game that he hasn't even played 40 regular season games yet. So he's very, very young into his career, even if he's 22 years old, which is a little bit older for a guy in his second year in the NBA right now. But overall, it's just so hard to complain about AJ. And even if the numbers go down with Dub and Isaiah Joe returning, I think he's going to have a similar impact, and he's going to make life easier on everyone around him.
Let's dive into whenever J-Dub does return. What does that change about this team? How does it help this team? And what's our favorite underrated storylines about this Thunder season so far? But first, I want to tell you right now, but good friends over at Rippling, folks. Rippling is incredible. If you're a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised to make work easier, but the average company is buried by hundreds of apps that slow down your team and simply do not work together. That's not SaaS. That's sad. Software as a disservice. That's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the only place to really unify your platform for global HR, payroll, IT, finance. It's all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. Everything from the onboarding to payroll to IT access runs automatically and perfectly in sync with Rippling. It's simple to use, and it helps you give your company one source of truth for their people, their data, and everything that they touch. Whether you want to run your entire HR, IT, and finance operations as one, or you just want to fill the gaps in your software in which it lacks, Rippling can do it all for you. Right now, you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/LockedOnNBA. That's rippling.com/LockedOnNBA. Rippling.com/LockedOnNBA for 6 months free. Go to rippling.com to learn more. Rippling.com/LockedOnNBA. Also want to tell you right now, my good friends over at Robinhood, go check out Robinhood because I love the ambition that you all show. Ambition has met its match with Robinhood. You play for the win, not just on game day, but every day, locking in on every opening and beating your PRs and beating it again. Channeling your drive into your money is important. That's why Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, crypto, all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools. Or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You can expect more from yourself. You can expect more from your money. Get started today at robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. Here to talk with Michael Martin at Michael on Sports on social media. Let's talk Thunder on YouTube. Michael, when J-Dub returns to this team after watching them play a week of basketball, what are you looking for him to change, to help, to impact about this team?
Number one is just going to free Shai up from all these double teams that he's been getting of teams are really loading up on him. That's actually part of why AJ's been so successful is teams really just bending towards Shai. I think the defense is going to get even better. Obviously, you get an all-world defender back, somebody who just made all defense last year. That's going to help. But most importantly, they get some more secondary playmaking and scoring. And lastly, OKC gets their best lineups back. Like, this is a team that's treaded water offensively for a lot of ways, but like, they survived off the backs of their defense for major parts last year during the postseason and the regular season, and now they get all their best lineups back along with an all-world defender who can play on offense as well.
Yeah, I think that J-Dub frankly changes everything. Like, you look at his cutting ability and his catch and shoot ability, it offers so much more play finishing for this team that has had a ton of potential assists that haven't been cashed in. Even last night, and not to pick on Brooks Barnhizer, but Brooks Barnhizer had a couple great cuts to the rim. Shai made a couple good passes to him. Got stonewalled at the rim, and that just not happened to a guy like J-Dub, which is no shot at Brooks. It's just the truth of what J-Dub can provide. His on-ball dominance not only gets OKC much needed buckets with Shai off the floor, but it makes life easier for Shai, like you said, but also it makes life easier for the complementary play finishers around him, and most importantly, it keeps turnovers low. J-Dub and Shai are two of the best high-usage, low-turnover guys in the league, and you've had too many turnovers at times for Oklahoma City than what you're used to in the past because you've been missing J-Dub. Him returning allows you to not waste possessions. And speaking of wasted possessions, one of the underrated things I'm looking for with J-Dub specifically, he's the very best 2-for-1 player you have. The Thunder are in love with trying to steal 2-for-1 at the end of these quarters. And right now, they're frankly just wasted possessions because nobody can go the length of the floor as efficiently and as forcefully as J-Dub can. And so you end up with a situation where you're trying for the 2-for-1 so hard that you go into a bad shot initially. Then your second shot becomes a bad shot because, surprise, there's not a lot of time left whenever you try to do the 2-for-1. So J-Dub allows you to execute your identity of being a 2-for-1 team at a much higher clip than whoever you have on the court right now, including Shai.
Yeah, he's going to be great. He's going to be great for their pace. Obviously, he's a great stocks guy, steals and turnovers. He's going to generate a lot of those deflections. He's going to get them out and running, which provides even more easy points that this team desperately needs. I think he's also going to be great next to AJ. We've seen how well he complements Hartenstein off the bench or in the starting lineup whenever they play those pick and roll games together. So I think he's going to open up a lot of things. They've already been generating a lot of open threes like we mentioned earlier, but that's just going to get even better with J-Dub on the floor.
Now, we've talked, including us, we've talked Ajay Mitchell, we've talked Aaron Wiggins' big night. I think he played his most complete game against Sacramento yesterday on Tuesday of his whole Thunder tenure. We've talked about Shai and his dominant scoring and closing ability. But what's an underrated storyline that you don't think is getting enough attention?
I would say it's the amount of minutes that Shai's been playing so far. Coming into this season, versus last season, there weren't a lot of clutch time games for this team very often. That was a big storyline as we headed into the playoffs. Well, they're getting a lot this year, and there are some negative consequences that come with it. It's only been 5 games, but Shai's averaging a career-high 38 minutes per game, Rylan, and that jumps up to 40 if you exclude the Hawks game where he sat out the fourth quarter. For reference, Shai averaged 38 minutes in the finals. So in 5 games this season, he's averaging the same amount of minutes as he did when the Thunder were throwing caution to the wind, going balls out, throwing the kitchen sink out there, whatever cliche you want to say. They were trying to do everything to win that series and play him max minutes. He didn't play. He played back-to-back 40-minute games this season in the first 2 games between the Houston Rockets and the Pacers. Do you know how many times he did that last season?
I mean, I would imagine they're both in the playoffs, if any.
Once, Game 3 and Game 4 in the finals. That's it. So outside of the postseason, Shai has never played back-to-back 40-plus minute games his entire career. So he's not an injury-prone guy. He's not a guy where we have to worry about his motor being in shape. But these are high-minute games, and they're coming down to the clutch where they're really grinded-out games where they're tough, where you play against the Pacers who are rough and full-court press you. The Rockets, we know how rough and they like to tumble and stuff like that. So it's not a major concern, but until Dub gets back, it's something I would definitely monitor.
I like that. I mean, as it goes from Shai's point of view, and my underrated storyline was the benefit of clutch time. I mean, this was a team that last year had the best point differential ever, played the fewest clutch time minutes in the league, and only played once in overtime the entire regulation. And it's they just cruised their way through. And as you mentioned, that was a big storyline. Are they going to be ready for playoff basketball, for more close competitive games? And then we saw them drop 2 inexplicable games in the clutch in opening games of the second round series against Denver, which went 7, and the first game of this game finals, which went 7 as well against Indiana, and they had to spend the entire series digging their way out of that. And so, yes, they did get that experience last year, and that was always going to be something that was valuable and that they could take with them and that they could use into this season. But the experience right here and now, I value because it's coming from a ton of different players. There's no J-Dub to go bail you out. There's no Chet yesterday to bail you out. It's had to be a lot on AJ, a lot on Wiggins, who did not get those clutch reps a year ago and now get them here. And you're just putting this team in more and more situations that they're going to find themselves in come playoff time. And the concern is, of course, for Shai playing these minutes in such a hurry after a shortened off season. But it is a marathon, and you will have, I still believe that you're going to have plenty of blowouts once this team is healthy, and then you're still going to have, I think, the whole month of March and half of April to get these guys some rest, because I still believe, even after we've seen the NBA get off to its start right now in the standings, that eventually the Thunder will pull away from the pack, and they will be clearing away the best team in basketball and the best team in the Western Conference, and they'll be able to have the rest of the season be academic at a certain point.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. It's good that they're playing these closer games. You just wish they were more sporadic and spread out is the thing. And with Shai specifically right now in this season, Rylan, we're seeing more teams press than we have in a very long time in the NBA. And just the cumulative amount of miles that they're putting on him as a ball handler, and the amount of times, he went to the free throw line a lot against Indiana. But past that, he's been kind of getting beaten up, and he's not getting to the line as much. That's not extra time where he can sort of just rest there and stand there for a little bit. So it's not a major concern, but it's something I'm definitely watching over. But like I mentioned just off the top about that, there are benefits that come to play in these more clutch time games, but at the same time, there are also some negatives, which is that it's going to be high-intensity basketball, and it's going to be some extra minutes for your core guys.
We still have a couple games to close out this week of Thunder basketball, with the Wizards in town on Thursday and the Pelicans on Sunday. 2 teams, frankly, uneventful for the most part, although I do love my Washington Wizards young core, and they're going to be better than Derek Barker's Brooklyn Nets. But what are you going to put under the microscope this week?
Couple of things. Can AJ keep it up? I mean, we both think that this is something that's very repeatable for him, but can he actually do it? Can any of those 4 shooters that I mentioned earlier between Shai, Lou, Cason, and J. Will start to return to form from 3? And then, we know the Thunder are going to get stops against the Wizards, but we just saw this against the Kings the other day of like the shot making is just one of those things that you just can't really overcome at a certain point of you can play great defense, but great offense is going to be great defense. And this Wizards team's playing with a lot of confidence. They're not super talented, like you mentioned, but right now they're top 10 in both points per game and 3-point percentage. So this is not one of those situations where you can play with your food whenever you're sort of a lean roster as is against a team with a lot of confidence who's coming on the road.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they're going to need to use these last couple of games of this week to gain some separation ahead of the start of your NBA Cup journey, which for some teams starts on Halloween night. I'll be in Altus, Oklahoma during that, so I won't get to watch much of it. But anyway, the NBA Cup, for better or worse, like it or not, as a gimmick, as an event, the guys do play a bit harder in that event, so you want to rest up for that as much as you can, and getting these games in the fashion that you should be able to blow out these two teams would be a big help. And part of that for me is stopping the turnovers. They're a bit too high for my liking from where this team has previously been. But the most important thing I have under the microscope is pace. Pace. They're playing too slow right now. 26th in pace, which is not good for me. Like they need to be one of the best teams in the league in pushing the pace as they were a year ago. They tried it, to their credit, at the start of the game on Tuesday against Sacramento. Like I thought that they did a good job in the first quarter of pushing the pace off of Kings makes and just creating artificial pace for themselves. It led to some turnovers, it led to some missed shots, and then ultimately they fell back into this grinded out style. And part of that is due to how close these games have been. Part of that is due to the matchups, not letting you play with a ton of pace, but you've got to find a way to get more pace, especially against these two teams. You should be able to dictate the terms and conditions of the game. And I want to see them do that against Washington and New Orleans.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. I think part of it is also symptomatic of just the roster being sort of lean right now, of them not having a ton of bodies where you have to sort of pace yourself, no pun intended, to pace out in some of these games. So I think that's something, the up and down nature of like the close games and then the free throw battles, if that's going to slow you down because you're taking the ball out of the basket, as Marcus talked about before. So I'd definitely be interested in that. And then the other two things I have for the New Orleans matchup is, who guards Zion if Dub is out? I would assume Dort, but I think that's going to be a super interesting matchup. And then a little local tie-in. I want to see what Jeremiah Fears looks like against the Thunder defense.
Jeremiah Fears will be a great watch on Sunday with the New Orleans Pelicans in town. Speaking of great watches, go to Let's Talk Thunder on YouTube and watch his latest video, which encapsulates the craziest shots in Thunder history. You do not want to miss that. So again, go subscribe to Locked On Thunder on YouTube. Go follow Michael on social media at Michael on Sports. You can find me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Subscribe to Locked On Thunder anywhere you get your podcast from, folks. And we'll be back again after the game on Thursday. Until then, be good and be good to one another.